China de novo emerged on July 4th, 2020.
It received global support in efforts to exorcise communism from China. 1.4 billion Chinese people continue to suffer under the atheistic and totalitarian communist regime.
Join the whistleblower movement and save the world from COVID-19 and the evil mastermind behind it.
So this is absolutely a populist uprising on Wall Street. And what we see right now is that the oligarchs of Wall Street are striking back today. The Empire Strikes Back, to reference another movie. And they are using their leverage to say that those of us who fly in private jets, we're going to suppress those people who drive Uber. And we're going to say those people can't play by the same rules we do. Now, let me be specific here. For decades, Wall Street titans have engaged in market manipulation. What I mean by that is they take positions, whether it's a long position or a short position, and they go on their forms of Reddit, things like CNBC. They go on the airwaves and tout their positions. Now, I don't have a problem with that. That's free speech, okay? They argue for and against companies and sectors. They've done this for decades to move asset prices. Now, with disintermediation, guess what? The little guy, the little gal can do this. So there are stock traders all over this country. Many of them, by the way, are new stock traders because the lockdowns have sent them home and they don't have enough to do. That's another topic for another time. But the point is, with the democratization of information and in this digital age, a lot of regular people are saying, wait a second, we have this same access to information. And when we are combined, none of us individually has a lot of financial firepower, but when we are combined, we actually have the financial firepower to take on Wall Street regarding a company like GameStop. And look, I have no position in this company. I have no view on what it's going to do, if it's justified at these prices or not. To me, that's actually irrelevant. Here's the point. The shorts on GameStop, institutional shorts, were trying to drive a company into the ground. They wanted the stock to go to zero or at least near zero. Now, fine, I'm okay with short selling. I've done a lot of it over my career at Wall Street. But those same short sellers then, the most sophisticated and savvy investors in the entire world, institutional investors, when they get caught, when they get squeezed, and this is an epic short squeeze by thousands and maybe millions of little guys who believe in the company, it is totally detestable that they then run for cover and protection to the regulators of the federal government, to brokerage houses, and to financial media. That's what's happening right now. But I'll tell you this too, Steve, trying to keep, whether it's in politics or in financial markets, trying to keep populism underwater, it's like trying to keep that beach ball underwater. You cannot keep it underwater, okay? The oligarchs are exposed right now. Are they going to win this battle on GameStop, on AMC? Perhaps they will. They might win the near-term skirmishes, but they're not going to win the longer-term war. The oligarchs are exposed for what they're doing to America. And let me add this too, Steve, because this is a critical component. What makes this even more reprehensible is the fact that it is regular Americans who bailed out Wall Street. During the housing crisis, the credit crisis of 08 and 09, regular taxpayers in this country, hardworking, regular people who don't speculate on stocks, who just try to pay their bills, who go to church and go hunting.
共产党，你要知道现在全世界真正的形势啊，全世界的科学家，全世界的有良知的人都在站起来，不会有全世界75亿人口都被你共产党拿下，我绝对不信。你的经济还能继续撑下去，我绝对不信。你自己知道你有没有钱，是吧？兄弟姐妹们，还是那句话，共产党是肯定完了，我们就是希望少带走点无辜的中国同胞，少害点无辜的老百姓啊！共产党，你在你完全你没有知觉的情况下，你会被解体。中国人会把你们这些王八蛋给吃掉，你们会找你们算账的。你对香港人的残害远远超过了种族大屠杀啊！这个历史的账是一定会给你算的。 咱走着看。
The military has carried out a coup d'etat in Myanmar. They've seized control of the country and detained key government officials, including the country's de facto leader, Aung San Suu Kyi. The military accuses the government of failing to act on claims of voter fraud in last November's election. They announced emergency measures via the news channel they own in Myanmar.
In order to perform scrutiny on the voter lists and take actions, the authority of the nation's lawmaking, governance and jurisdiction is handed over to the Commander-in-Chief, according to the 2008 Constitution, Article 418.
Well, there's been widespread international condemnation of the military's takeover in Myanmar. The new U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, expressed grave concern over the reports and warned Myanmar's military to reverse its actions immediately. And the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, released a statement strongly condemning the detention of Aung San Suu Kyi, President U Win Myint, and other political leaders in Myanmar. He said the developments are a serious blow to democratic reforms in the country.
When do you expect to speak to President Biden?
Soon.
He calls you, you'll call him. How does it work?
It's set up between the two of us, yeah. I mean, there's a number of countries now, India, South Korea, Australia, who are in a similar... We've already had one conversation a while back, and that was good.
I talked a lot last week about New Zealand maybe changing its priorities a little bit, or China helping them change their priorities. They're part of Five Eyes, but they wouldn't sign up to a joint statement about Hong Kong. There was the ministerial comments late last week. How important is it that New Zealand is all in on Five Eyes, not trying to keep an eye somewhere else as well?
I'll make a couple of points. The first one is what they ultimately signed up to with China only brings effectively their trade agreement to where we already were. But the Five Eyes is really important, and so are liberal market democracies. The OECD, Matthias Cormann, who we put forward, he's doing really well. We're in the last couple now, which is, it's fantastic. But all of these countries need to align more. There's another view about how the world should run, and then there's the view that we hold as liberal democracies, free market democracies, business-led economies, and on security issues and intelligence and how we work together to support our region and see them be sovereign and independent, that we can keep open seas, that there aren't parts of the world's oceans or seas that are inside and outside clubs. And this is very important, not just to Australia, but all liberal democracies. I don't take the view that, every system's as good as the other. If that were the case, we'd flip a coin each day and decide which way we run the country on, are we going to run on an authoritarian regime or a liberal democracy? No, liberal democracy all the way forever. And we got to continue to maintain our vigilance over this. And to do that, we've got to stick together on this stuff. It's very important.
Do you believe Google is going to pull the plug on Australia?
I tell you, Microsoft would be pretty happy if they did. Talking to Satcher, who runs Microsoft, Bing would go off. So, no, look, I'm going to be having a chat to the head of Google very soon again. I've spoken to them before. We're just trying to find a way through here. Neither do we want everybody stuck in the courts forever either. We'll just find a sensible way through here. But the thing about the digital world, and we've got kids, I worry about kids online and all of this, as we all do. It can be a very unsafe place. And, the golden rule for me is what happens in the real world has to happen on the digital world. Just the same rules. You can't behave in an uncompetitive way. You can't, abuse people and carry on like a goose, although plenty seem to. I don't think you should have a rule necessarily against all of that, but you're still being a goose. And we have to ensure that world, which is increasingly part of our lives, runs on the same set of rules. And a lot of the regulation, how taxation works, antitrust, competition laws, they've got to catch up. And, you can't have these platforms with a business model which is about being in the Wild West forever. The sheriff turns up eventually. And they might go through a few of them, but I tell you what, the sheriff eventually gets the rule of law and pace in this world, and it's very important it does, because our media, and as much as you and I both love them, and at the same time may be frustrated from time to time, that's a good thing, and it's important that our commercial media, not just the taxpayer-funded media, is present and thriving, and because that's what upholds liberal democracies.
North Korea's leader will not give up nuclear weapons, but he may be willing to negotiate an arms reduction for sanctions relief. That's coming from Pyongyang's former acting ambassador to Kuwait in an interview with CNN on Monday. Ryu Ha-nu said the regime's nuclear power is directly linked to its stability, and Kim Jong-un likely believes it is key to his own survival. The former diplomat pointed out previous U.S. administrations put the communist state in a difficult position in negotiations by demanding denuclearization up front. Ryu believes President Joe Biden will handle the issue wisely based on his experience on the Iran nuclear deal. The former North Korean official adopted his current name after defecting to South Korea in 2019.
Well, what a week it's been for this standoff between China and Taiwan, which we can't ignore, and neither can the United States. From the week Joe Biden was inaugurated, Beijing has ratcheted up their claim to territory in the South China Sea and, of course, Taiwan, beyond what we've ever seen since they split. It is a clear challenge to the US. What are you going to do about it? And if the US does do something about it, we will be part of that conflict. So 9 days ago, China passes a law enabling their Coast Guard fleet to attack foreign vessels. Within 24 hours, the first of 2 aggressive flybys occur in southern Taiwanese airspace. It was a group of nuclear-armed fighter jets, followed by 30 war bombers last Sunday. And then on Thursday, China's Ministry of National Defence started issuing threats. A senior colonel, Wu Qian, said China's military drills in the area were aimed at provocation by separatist forces and foreign interference. He said those Taiwan separatists who play with fire will get burnt. The People's Liberation Army will thwart any secession schemes and adamantly safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity. They're calling the threats the strongest since 1949, when they split. Former Major General Senator Jim Molan told me earlier on in the week that China is intent on taking Taiwan. It's just a matter of when. Now, they've promised to unite with Taiwan by 2049, but they promised to give Hong Kong its autonomy way into the current century, 2047. And we know how expedited that was last year, when China's new security laws came in. If they can jump the gun on Hong Kong by 27 years, as they did last year, then they can jump the gun on Taiwan by 28. And again, don't think we can just watch all of this from afar. It's not afar. Now, with the Biden administration stating recently that their commitment to Taiwan was rock solid, this has all the hallmarks of the world's next major military drama. And that's way too close for comfort for Australia.
严博士发图文表示 ，WHO 调查组正在中国进行洗脑之旅，给专家们更多赞美 CCP 成就的官方资料。习近平从不道歉，还要求全世界向中国学习的原因，是因为 CCP 在 COVID-19 大流行中经济和宣传都赢了。严博士发推文表示，中共认为冠状病毒的死亡人数只是伟大胜利路上必须付出的代价，没有中共就没有新生活，要美国和其他国家来学习 CCP， 伟大的党又胜利了。日经亚洲发推文消息，本周热门新闻是苹果公司离开中国，进入印度生产 iPhone 12系列产品，在越南工厂生产 iPad， 这是苹果公司第一次在中国境外大量生产设备。香港自由新闻表示，随着新签证计划的实施，英国预计在未来5年内将会有32.2万港人移民英国。美国之音发布缅甸正在发生政变的消息，缅甸执政党表示，昂山素姬等其他政府领导人已经被拘捕。张家敦福克斯采访时表示，中共正在讨论释放更多的病毒，而且作为生化武器可以针对特定的种族。A 股不出意料的再次炸雷，让无数韭菜欲哭无泪。在镰刀下，只有被收割，发财是黄粱美梦。北京开始极具侮辱性的肛门检测，吓到韩国人求助使馆，既暴露了国人的麻木，又暴露了中共国 PCR 检测的不准确性。为了法庭有足够的时间审理拜登的缔结非法移民令的生效，德州南部地区联邦法官进行了14天的临时冻结令。
小区买菜排队，通知说明天要封单元，这是什么鬼？
这是今年春运第1天，唯一的2个乘客来退票的，跟毛都没2个，9个车老板在这里坐，刚请到人是小买。
中共的实力只有在欺负人民的时候展现出来，除此之外都是纸老虎。世卫组织到武汉为调查中共病毒真相，结果却被安排参观武汉抗击新冠肺炎主题展览，观看中共如何作秀。
老娘啊，老娘啊，在那个60年代，想吃口热摊面都没有，都是活快就饿死。这不到现在，我这么想啊，爷爷叔叔这个为抗日都死在日本人手里了，我都得死到自己人手里啊！
打死！打！
放手！
打！
手！
这样你，就拍你，我就拍你们，我还会怕你？打！打！打！ 下午2点钟放到现在， 没给我消毒，不是啊，没消毒，干嘛来？我就说你没给我消毒，这传染我找谁呀？那传染我们连着3、4个，我还提醒他，我说你得消毒，不消毒你让我传染怎么办呢？都没消，疫情期间给我传染怎么办呢？那有事怎么办？我有事怎么办？我有事怎么办？但你这操作不规范，我有事怎么办？
我再说一遍，找卫生防疫部门反映，你有什么要求？
我要出事怎么办？
你出事找卫生防疫都有举报电话，你看。
该名女子多次被慕名闯入者警告不要说出疫苗真相，但是她没有放弃说出事实。在录完这段最后的视频后，不幸被死亡了。幕后的黑手到底是谁？不想让大家知道病毒真相，不惜来害人性命。
So then 2 days later, I noticed it first through the kitchen window, and it's not something I have ever seen before, but there is a duck. On my table. And when I talked to the security experts, I said, I don't understand the duck. And then it came to me that I had been on my phone having a lot of conversations about people asking me, are you staying at...
奥地利的警察脱下头盔，与人民站在一起，反对政府的病毒封锁。哈尔滨有12名官员因防疫不力被问责，网友直言不过是换汤不换药。NHK News 发推文称，截止到1月31日凌晨3点，全球中共病毒已感染1亿275万人，死亡222万人。这一串串冰冷数字的背后，是一个个鲜活生命的逝去，无数个家庭的破碎。在中共病毒爆发年后，世卫小组才得以进入中国早被严防死守的医院进行调查，之后又被安排参观武汉封城抗疫展览，证实了外界质疑其成员能否收集到有价值信息的猜想。王岐山旧部前中共海南省海口市市委书记张琪被中共中纪委点名批评。2天后，与王岐山渊源甚深的海航集团破产，政治上没有巧合，令外界再度聚焦习近平和王岐山的关系。美参议员在接种过2剂辉瑞的中共病毒疫苗后，在参加拜登就职典礼时仍被感染中共病毒。中国大陆疫情持续爆发，多地出现武汉疫情随地倒现象。26日，内蒙古自治区主席布小林在13届人大4次会议汇报工作时突然晕倒，之后多天未露面，引外界猜测是否中招。
亲爱的战友们啊，这是一场人类上前所未有的话语权、信仰和宗教、经济和政治、人性和道德一场彻底的大转变，无人可以挡，只是谁来改变。你扮演了什么角色，谁都挡不了，这就是时代。
我们真正是感受到了爆料革命这些东西深入咱们战友每个家庭、每个生命的每个部分，都是一家一家的支持爆料革命。爆料革命成了很多战友生命中不可缺少的，而且是五湖四海。而且我真也没想到，世界上原来这么多战友支持我，无处不在，没有任何国家，没有任何地方。非洲的、南美洲的、亚洲的、东欧的、北欧的、西欧的，那北美洲就不用说了。
全人类真正的开始了一个从来想都不敢想，就是消灭共产党，因为他杀了全世界人，这个仇多大？谁想送回去？永远不可能，没有一个人敢谈。
我发现咱中国人真是憋的时间太长。这个力量太大，集结真正的力量，准备着没有共产党的新中国，我们每个人要扮演的角色。 灭共没你不行。